The Bears, Cap, this team embodies 4-4. It embodies average or below average play. You're 0-4 on the road after losing this one against Arizona. They haven't won a road game since December of 2021. This is the sixth time, as we watched this game yesterday, the sixth time, 0 points in the first quarter. All we keep hearing from Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams and Shane Waldron, we got to get off to faster starts. We got to get off to faster starts. And again, a big bagel, a goose egg in the first quarter. Then from there, the quarterback is throwing the ball 41 times. Did anyone see that stat? 22 for 41, good for 217 yards. Yeah, you could throw it 41 times, Cap, but when you have nothing to show for it, it stinks. They don't sniff the end zone in this game. And on top of that, once again, another game, another week where we got to talk about no Cole Kmet. He was active, wasn't he, Cap? Are you sure that Cole Kmet was active? Again, nothing for Cole Kmet. We have to ask the coach again, how come Cole Kmet can't be part of this offense? This thing's going backwards quickly.
Johnny, welcome back. It was a train wreck in the desert. And while I think the coach is in over his head, what he did yesterday was so unconscionable that if I was his bosses, and I said this last week to you before you went away for a few days, there had to be a high-level meeting of what in the hell are we doing? We've cast our lot with Caleb Williams. Now, I want to read you a couple of things here, and then I'll tell you what he did. Next Gen Stats from ESPN said 16 different Cardinals got a pressure on the quarterback against the Bears yesterday. That is the most individual players to get a pressure for any NFL defense since 2018. Caleb was pressured on 46% of his dropbacks. Nearly half the time, he's under duress. Look, this is the fourth game in 8 tries. He's had a 45% or worse pressure rate. He got sacked all day long. And our head coach, who will join us at 9:40, and I will ask the question if you don't get to it first, what in the hell are you doing keeping your franchise rookie quarterback on the field in the final minutes of a game where you've got zero chance of coming back? And if he dares to say again, like he did yesterday, that it's, well, we wanted him to work on the 2-minute stuff. Coach, you couldn't protect him. You weren't doing anything in the 2-minute. You nearly got him killed. It looks like he tweaked an ankle, and that falls at your feet, nobody else. Your team was unprepared. When I watched him with Evan Washburn at halftime, and he made his ridiculous comments about that one's on me, and I had a pass defense on, and guy runs 53 yards for a touchdown to effectively end the football game right there with 4 seconds left in the first half. I watched him. I watched his demeanor, and I turned to my son. I went, game over. We're done. Dad, it's only halftime. Done. He's in over his head, and he deserves every bit of vitriol from the fans today. He's in over his head. He should be fired before the end of the season, or he's going to get the quarterback killed. And the quarterback wasn't great, but drop back and walk by me 100 times and 50 of them, you get bodied into the wall. It wouldn't end well for me. You're stronger than me. But you know my point.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, God, he didn't touch me this time. Why'd you stumble? Because I thought I was going to get drilled again.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
So Charles Davis, who is as down the middle as any analyst that you'll find in the National Football League, he's watching Caleb Williams being hobbled toward the end of that game. And Charles Davis on CBS said,
it's Allen as Williams takes another hit, and now he's grabbing at the back of his leg as Aquara was there. Pops up on his feet.
I'm sorry, this just does not make sense to me. This is your rookie quarterback. This is the face of your franchise. I don't think he should have been out there for the 2 minutes. I hope he's okay.
yeah, talking about how hobbled that Caleb Williams looked. And again, that's just one of the storylines that happened in the desert yesterday, Cap. But I just think that this thing is not going in the right direction, as I opened and told you, because while I'm away and I'm reading the quotes from the newspapers and everything else that Courtney Cronin is reporting, when the players on the record are questioning what's happening with this coaching staff, that's the beginning of the end. because for the first 2 years of this operation, you heard very little from players about criticizing the offensive coordinator or criticizing Matt Eberflus, very little on the record, if anything. Now you have veteran players, proud veteran players that are looking at this situation and saying, yeah, we could have done that better, or we could have done that better. I knew, Cap, when you really think about it in hindsight, anytime that you have a committee, and it's, by the way, it's on the record where people are saying, hey, Shane Waldron, you got to coach us harder. When you have to tell the offensive coordinator what to do, that tells you all you need to know about what's going on in that organization. Because if you're Shane Waldron, you come in and say, hey, man, I fixed Geno Smith. You know, I know the job of being an offensive coordinator, so I know exactly what I'm doing. When you have to have veteran players telling you what to do, how to coach harder, that's a problem. Because that's not commonplace in the National Football League.
That is correct.
Because whatever you think of the NFL, mock military, whatever it is, my point is that when a guy comes in as a coordinator or head coach, he's got his set of skills, whether it's bad or good. He's got his own set of skills. When you know on the record where every man, woman, and child knows that, hey, the players talk to Shane Waldron and say, hey, you got to coach us harder. I said, right there, red flag, right there. And then, of course, Matt Eberflus is the head coach. Give him credit, Cap. First time in his tenure as head coach saying, that's on me. When's the last time you heard that? That's one thing. That's one of our major criticisms of Eberflus is that he never puts it on himself. Say, yeah, I call that play. That's on me. Wow. And then in the press conference saying, if you heard it very clearly right here on ESPN 1000, yeah, you know, it starts with the coaches and then the players. Oh, he knows, Cap. He knows that the fire is coming.
Correct.
He knows that it's coming because he's never done that before. He's always been this Banny Rooster, right? Yeah, you know what? I want to do what's best for the Chicago Bears. Now he's putting it on himself because he knows that the pressure's coming.
Yes, the posse is out.
No question.
Ready. It's done. It will be done. They look so flat yesterday. And please don't tell me, I don't mean you, everybody out there, well, Montez Sweat didn't go. Really? Okay. He's a hell of a football player. He couldn't go. He had a shin injury. I guess it was a puncture from getting cleated. Okay. He didn't play. And they didn't have Brisker and Gordon. You know how many injuries teams deal with around the National Football League and a next up mentality? They find a way to win a football game or at least look competitive. They got trucked. James Conner was like a steamroller coming through there. I made all these notes. I was so mad. The Amari DiMercato 53-yard TD scamper, that just effectively ended the football game right there. Mm-hmm. Made it 21-9.
Yep.
And that was it. But, dude, James Conner runs for 107. They run for 213 yards. Eberflus has won 3 road games in his career as Bears head coach, just under 3 seasons. The 3 quarterbacks he's beaten on the road, Bailey Zappi, I don't think he's in the NFL. Sam Howell, Joshua Dobbs. That's it. That is who he's beaten on the road. The team stinks. And the sad thing is, there's actually talent on the roster.
That's it. We have to continue to circle that for a while here because coming into the season, we told Bears fans, and Bears fans agreed, this is the most talent that we've seen in quite some time on this roster, both sides of the football. So here's what I don't want, Cap. I don't want the Bears to squander this opportunity for them to be a playoff team, let alone just be a good football team with all this talent. We've seen teams that have been good. One wide receiver, one pass rusher, a couple of guys in second here and there. Look at the roster. That's why this sucks, because you're 4-4 with this roster. That's the thing that is disheartening, I think, to the average Bears fan.
Okay, I said this to you, Shay and Jay Moore, before the show, but I'm going to read this to you again, who they have to deal with still on their schedule. I don't mean team, I mean coach. And every one of them is better than him. Matt LaFleur, and you get him twice. Yep. Kevin O'Connell, you get him twice. Tough. Dan Campbell, you get him twice, along with the best team in football, potentially. You have to deal with Kyle Shanahan. You're done. It's over.
That's
the
tough.
season is over. Now, while you were away, we had Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, tweet about the Washington coaching staff. with a hashtag like real coach and whatever. And then he deleted it. And he said, I know those people. It was just, there was innocent. Let me tell you something right now. If that was my kid, the phone for Ryan Poles or Kevin Warren would have rung last night. You get this fixed now, or don't put my kid out there. I'm not having him get crushed week after week. You guys have an incompetent coaching staff, starting with your head coach and then moving on to your offensive coordinator. Your offensive line, while banged up, isn't good enough. Now we have Darnell Wright with an MCL injury, it looks like. Now we have Andrew Billings, your guy, who I love. He's got a pec injury.
Yep.
The last guy with a pec injury was a week ago, Matt Pryor. And that was a surgical thing. He's done. So this team, train wreck city right now. Train wreck.
You have more than enough to be able to win football games, though, Cap, and that's the thing. It's about the scheme, but also it's about the ineptitude of the players. Like something else, too. You mentioned the running game of Arizona, 213 yards on the ground. Now, here's the thing. It's one thing you can't score, okay? That's one thing. Clearly, this team has a hard time scoring, especially early. But when on the defensive side, when you're leaky defensively and surrendering 213 yards on the ground, because that was here's why I've never been a Kyler Murray fan. You know this. I've never been a fan. But you could tell the difference between Kyler Murray last year and this year in that he's so little and he gets under center. The defense doesn't know where he is, and they don't know if it's going to be inside run or if he's running or where the ball's going because he stoops down under center and you can't find him. And so he's better now under center than he was when he was in the shotgun running all over the yard like he did years before. So I'll give Kyler Murray credit because that's a better quarterback than I've seen in the past. My point is, though, is that defensively, when you're giving up 213 yards and getting gashed that way with a defensive line that's supposed to be the strength of the team, that's a problem. That's a major problem. And on the flip side, for us, 69 yards rushing. That's all you can do? Again, the head coach agrees with us when we talk about how the running game must set up the short passing game, must set up the long passing game. But he agrees that you got to run the football. So 69 yards against that front. By the way, this is the same Arizona defense that's third from the bottom as far as third down efficiency. So you couldn't get it done on third down. And then, of course, the drops, too. The short-handed Allen. Hey, what are you here for? To catch the football. What are you doing? Right? I mean, the same thing with Dunes. You got to catch the football. So this is what's happened. You're a 4-4 football team, and just like teams that are like on the precipice of being good or maybe not so good, you have to be able to do the little things, Cap. And little things are you've got to be able to catch the football at the minimum.
Correct.
And so that betrayed Caleb Williams. And on top of that, Caleb wasn't sharp also.
Correct.
So, I mean, at this makeshift offensive line, it's all going in the wrong direction at this point in time.
Correct.
At what point, though, does Ryan Poles start to catch some heat? Because two things. The dirty secret on this defense was they can't stop the run, and the Cardinals exposed it yesterday. And he's the architect of this offensive line. He's the architect of the offensive line. He's the architect of the defensive line.
Fair.
That's on him.
Fair.
He's also the guy who doubled down and kept Eberflus this season. So at what point does he start getting a little heat?
Now, my question is, and I don't know the answer, so I'm asking, just simply asking the question. Was he told by his bosses he had to keep him?
No, I think that just based on everything that we know about Poles, he was going to give Matt an opportunity because the first year was a tank year. The second year he got better with 7 wins, and so this was a show-me year. That's what I think. Like, you know my feeling, and the audience knows my feeling.
Yeah, you would have moved on last year.
I would have fired him after year 2 because this is a Rick Renteria if it ever was one. I said this at the time. You upgrade your wide receiver. You upgrade your quarterback, we believe. You upgrade some of your defensive pieces. And so because of that, you have to upgrade your head coach. There's no way that this guy, Matt Eberflus, could be able to be the coach for the future with Caleb Williams. I said that at the time, Cap, but I think that this is a show-me year. It's almost as if Poles said, hey, man, I know what I did to you the first couple of years, but we believe in you. Just lead them. What's happening now?
They're flat. They're not playing for the guy, and the thing looks like a train wreck. It just does. It looks like a train wreck. And you know I'm a fan of Poles. I think he's done a really good job at fixing an awful roster that had awful salary issues, moving on from certain guys. But the bottom line is he did not do a good enough job putting his offensive line together. Period.
The difference between, say, the Rams losing if they lost a game, or the Seahawks losing a game, or, you know, the Broncos if they lost a game, and they lost yesterday. The difference between them and, say, like the Bears is that it's more than just losing a game, Cap. It's more than losing a game. It's all the BS around it. Like, we were a national embarrassment in that Washington game. After that, for a week, I couldn't get away from it. Social media, television, they're still replaying what happened in the Washington game with that whole thing with the Hail Mary. It's more than just losing a game. You're going to lose games. It's the NFL. You're going to lose, but it's the way, the operation. That's the problem.
Agreed.
Now, the operation, as far as coming into the season, we said, you know what, you look like a professional operation. But the thing I was telling you, and I still believe it, is that with Matt Eberflus, it's the little things. It's those mistakes. The same mistakes that we document the last couple of seasons. The little things. And it's coming back again. That tells me that you're not a very good head coach. If you haven't gotten better with the little things, time management, exactly how to be able to handle players, keep stuff close to the vest. If you can't do those things, Cap, then you're not fit for the job to be a head coach for the long haul. You're just not.
Agreed.
It's more than just a loss against Arizona. It's the little things, Cap. That's the problem. But it's the same little things we've been talking about the last couple of seasons with him.
The Bears looked uninterested in playing yesterday. Uninterested. And that falls at the feet of one guy, the guy who prepares his football team. But the most egregious thing he did, look, as you just correctly said, you're going to lose football games.
Lose games.
Caleb Williams is in the football game. He's been sacked 6 times. He's been pressured 46% of the time. And we're trying to work. You heard his quote. We'll play it. We were trying to have him get some experience in the 2-minute drill. What? You're down 29-9. 29-9, and he limps off the field because you were too ridiculous to get him out.